I'm Colton Beasley. I play guitar and sing. I enjoy music and I'm a very musical person. In 2014, I was in the second semester of my sophomore year. On February 18th, my girlfriend was on the phone with me. She said we were just having a normal conversation, and all of a sudden, my words started making no sense. I was speaking gibberish.
So I called him again to try and wake him up, and he woke up again and talked to me, and then he kind of did the same thing. Like he slowed down again, started talking nonsense, and then he passed out again, I guess.
I have no recollection of that, and really no recollection of the next 40 to 50 days.
I get a text message from our drummer Seth saying Colton's in the ER.
I was admitted into Lexington Medical Center.
I kind of figured it was kind of like not that bad.
They sedated me and started running some tests, and after about 3 days of sedation, I was not waking up, and they had no idea why.
Come to find out, Colton was comatose immediately, and since I gotten that news.
And they were telling my parents after about the first week, he has no brain function. He is most likely not going to come out of this. You guys are honestly kind of wasting your time and money.
They ran out of things to do, and suddenly they were not so confident in what they were doing, and they were telling us they didn't know what was happening.
When the elevator doors opened and I just saw Terry burst into tears and come and give me a hug, I'm like, oh, this is terrible.
I was like, that's not right. You don't just 19 years old, thick and healthy, in the very prime of your youth. You don't just lay down and die.
It really made you wake up and realize that the words you say to somebody, they actually could be your last.
They decided to move me to MUSC in Charleston. In about 2 days, they came to my parents and said, this is what he has, a very rare autoimmune disease called acute disseminated encephalomyelitis. They had seen a few cases before at MUSC. My body was just constantly degrading. It was destroying itself.
I went to Charleston to go see him, and the nurses and doctors, they had us put on those masks and scrubs. So I asked Colton, with all this stuff on, I said, Colton, do you know who I am? And he very slightly shook his head. So I pulled off my mask. I said, Colton, do you know who I am? He nodded. Have my friend. I at least have my friend.
I remember thinking I must have been in a car accident because I had no other reasoning as to why I would be in the hospital. I had no idea that almost 2 months had passed. And after about a week of me having no idea what was going on with my own body, I started being able to speak. Actually, I was implanted with a speaking valve after I was giving a tracheotomy, and I was able to speak. So I started asking questions and started understanding what happened to me.
When he actually woke up and it was okay to have guests, went down there and he had to talk with that tube in his chest. And remember the last thing I said to him, I walked in the room, his face lit up. He was like, dude, but he couldn't say dude, he just mouthed, he was like, and I'm like, whoa, your eyes are open, that's cool. And it was the first time I was like, Colton, I love you, man.
I started moving my fingers very early on, and my first question to all my doctors and nurses were, do you think I'll be able to play guitar again? Do you think I'll be able to sing again? Because I want to do, what I enjoy the most. And I got a lot of, I don't know answers. I got a lot of, we wish we could tell you yes, but we can't give you false hope.
But Colton was very determined to get out of that bed and surprise everybody beyond everything. That he was back on the stage in 6 months or so. He was back on stage singing, jumping around, singing. Being who he was before he left to go into a coma in 6 months, boom, turned around, right back on stage. And that defied odds because everybody said, you should still be in a wheelchair. You should still be in bed. How are you doing this?
But I think that really drove me to work the hardest and gave me a discipline, because when you really want something, you have to fight for it. And when it's something as simple as your health, you're willing to do anything every single day, every hour of the day.
To see him go from completely unresponsive, no reflexes or motor control or anything like that, to walking out of his rehab hospital was amazing, but I know it was hard for him.
And they were very astonished once the treatment started working at how fast I was recovering. I went from being quadriplegic to walking and moving and playing guitar, singing on stage in about 6 months. I made it my goal for the time. I mean, when something brings you down, you have two choices. You can either stay down and whine about it, or you can do something about it. And I whined for a little bit and decided that wasn't going to work for me.
He was determined that he would not give up, and he would be right back where he was as soon as he could. And he got there sooner than he was technically supposed to be.
I was going to work as hard as I could to be healthier than before, better than before, a better person than before to others.
Now that he's okay, now that everything has kind of gotten back to its usual, it almost seems like a bad dream. Almost seems like it never happened.
The beauty of the situation is not in what happened, it's what you made of it. I decided in my mind to take something horrible and make something good out of it.
Back to me.